Right, so first let's talk about all the unique blocks that you can actually use for parkour tracks. This will include these. They call I believe they are cloud blocks. I'm not sure, but you can find these blocks here in the special tab right here. They are called, yeah, they are Horus cloud block. And so what this thing does is when you step on it, it just quickly break and then you have nothing to stand on anymore. So the idea of this is the player have to go really quick before the blocks actually break. Okay, for some reason I'm jumping really high. Let me check my gravity setting. Yeah, I should have left this on 1. There we go. Right, so by using the cloud blocks right here, you can actually create a more challenging track for your player because they have to travel really fast non-stop until they reach the next step platform. Right, so this is one of the special blocks you can use for parkour tracks. Going to the second special blocks you can use to build your parkour maps. This block I believe is the it's called Jared Honey. That's funny because I always call this one the chocolate block. You have to agree with me on this. This looks exactly like a chocolate from a chocolate bar. So yeah, just call it a chocolate block. It doesn't really matter, but as you can see, this block as well, it will break when you stand on it, but it will take more effort and time to actually break down. So what you can do with this is just like the cloud block right here, you can create a track where players will have to move constantly. They cannot stand for a spot for too long, they have to keep going, and so it makes the game more challenging and is more fun to play with. Right, so there's one problem with using these two particular blocks to build a track. When you think about it, if the first player jump over the step and all of your block is disappear, there's no more blocks to jump anymore. So what do you need to do? So this is where you actually use some triggers to bring the blocks back, so the next player can actually take their turn and go through the step. So first of all, what you need to do is you use the tool mode right here. For PC, you can use the quick button F3 to turn on this, and then you use this to select like an area that you want to use your trigger on. So right now I will go on and select this area because we will be placing our cloud blocks in this area only. So there we go. Now you can turn it off by pressing F3 again, and now you just place your cloud blocks back. Then go to trigger. In order to open your trigger tabs, you can either click on this icon right here, or you can click J on your PC, switch to trigger, and there you have the trigger screen. What you do in the trigger menu is you click new trigger, and then you will work on these event, condition, and action for the triggers. So for our triggers in this parkour map, we need to make the cloud blocks reappear after they are break, after they disappear. So here's what we're gonna do. For event, we'll go to the block tab. We will choose the when container is taking out. I believe that's wait no, why being destroyed? I believe this is when the block is break or disappear. Event type block, yes. So this is the first thing you need to put in your trigger when any block is broke. For your condition, you need to also go to block. You should be able to pick the determine in which area, this one, and so you can pick your block type and the area the block is in. So we will go ahead and pick the cloud blocks. I believe it's somewhere in the nature one, this one. So and you keep this as yes, and in area region 1, that's the region we just created. And for the action, you just go ahead and scroll down. You will need to use the timer. Why do you need the timer? Because you don't want the block to reswarm as soon as they disappear. You want there's a little waiting time between the disappear and appear of that block. So you click on waiting time, you set it to whatever you want as the waiting time of the trigger. Right now I would just go with 1 because that's just fast and it works. So now you add another action to the trigger. You go back to block and now you click on create block. So now all you need to do is click on the cloud block again, which is here, and event position, yes, keep it as that. And I think there you go. Let's test the trigger out. So if you want to test a trigger, you actually have to switch to play mode for the trigger for to actually work. So we will go ahead and do that. As you can see, I'm still in this form right here because last time in yesterday class I set myself to turn into this character. So if you want to do this, you can go back to the last class and figure out how to do it. So now when I step on the cloud blocks and it's disappear and then it's reappear. So this way the other players actually can take their turn and jump through these blocks. Something is not right because these blocks actually appear too soon. We will try to fix that, but technically it works. So I think maybe you should raise this, maybe raise it to 2 and test it out. Let's see. So this break and 2 seconds later it appear. Right, so it works. So maybe you should keep the timer above 2 seconds because 1 second is just too fast. So they have enough time to actually fail down the course right here. Right, so just keep in mind there's one thing about trigger is that you should always expect the trigger to have issue, and then you will find a way to fix that issue. That's how you actually learn a trigger and remember it. Then I think this trigger worked pretty well now. So yep, it works pretty well. For the chocolate blocks, it's the same. You just have to change this from cloud to the blocks you want to set the trigger to. I honestly don't know where the chocolate blocks is, so just show you guys that you actually can switch to all the blocks that easy. You don't need to create a completely new trigger. You just have to click on this 3 dot right here, click on copy, click paste, and now you have a completely same trigger that you can actually change to another type of blocks. So actually if you want to change to sand oil, you can go ahead and do that. It's that easy, and if you don't want it, you can just delete the trigger. Just keep in mind, if you don't want a trigger to activate, you either delete it or you turn off this tick mark right here. If not, the trigger will still go on no matter you want or not. So keep that in mind. Now I will switch back to... Oops! It looked like I won't be turning back to my default skin anymore, but that's okay. So when you are building a map and you have like this area right here and you don't want to see it, you want to turn it off, you can do it simply just by clicking this icon right here on the top left corner. Just turn it off like this, and there we go. It's that simple. You should always turn this off when you're building because it will not make your map laggy. Trust me, you want to do that. When you have like a lot of different areas, you need to turn it up. As for the function of choosing an area, remember to press F3. For this first one is to pick an area. This second one is to pick a single spot, and this third one is to actually pick a spot to swarm a type of animal. Anyway, you can always click on this right here or just press B on your keyboard, and you can rename the area you have created so that you can remember what it is when you try to set up your triggers. If you have a lot of region, you won't remember which one is which. So like for example, if I set here cloud area, I will know that this is the region I set up for the cloud blocks, right? Click confirm and you done it. This is the cloud area. It's that simple. Right, moving on to the next special blocks today. Actually, I should just delete this area because we already use it. Maybe not, let's keep it there, but I will turn this off just for the sake of this tutorial. There we go. So for the third special blocks you can use to build a parkour track, you have this crystal sand right here. If you are familiar with this block, you know exactly what it does. If you are not familiar with these blocks, well, you will see what it's capable of right now. So as you can see, it actually creates a force that actually push you up when you are above it. So you can see I can literally jump from this block to this block right here. So the length of it is like 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9 blocks length, and that's pretty far. So what you can do is you can actually create some type of special track like this one, where players will have to try to control their balance in the air and land exactly where you want them to land. So this is another really special type of track you can add in your parkour maps. It's always fun to have these blocks in parkour maps. And to be honest with you, you don't have to worry too much if this type of block will make your maps laggier, because trust me, I have tried this before and it doesn't affect your maps much. So you can place as many as you want to. But on the other hand, the next special blocks I will show you is actually very laggy. So you should consider putting like a limited amount of these blocks in your parkour maps. So what I'm talking about is actually this special blocks right here is called the teleport stone. Yes, this is a block. So what this does, you can tell by its name, teleport stone. So you will expect that this block will teleport you to somewhere, but no. Actually, this block will only push you toward the direction that you are aiming for. So for example, if I go this direction through this block, it will actually create a force to push me forward, like that. And if I go forward this side, it will push me this direction. If you have like a lot of these in a line, you can just not pressing anything and it will take you directly through the course like this. I'm not even pressing the moving key, I just step in and it go forward. So now you know what this block is capable of. How can you create a parkour course by using this block? Well, this is what you can try and do. So basically this is a normal parkour course, but if you place this block on top of this, it will create a more challenging step for players to go through. So for example, you do this and you jump, it actually push you forward. So it's another type of like fast jump track that you cannot actually stop until you reach the next platform. So let's try it again. If I jump and it's just push me forward, and if I don't jump really fast, I will just fall down. So despite the fact that these blocks will cause your maps to be more unstable and laggier if you put a lot of them, you can still use like a couple of these blocks to create a more challenging track for the players. So that's something you can do. Just keep in mind, don't just play them all around the map, because you don't want your parkour maps to be very laggy, and the player experience will definitely go down because of that. Right, so there we go. We have the teleport sand, teleport stone. If you wonder why it is called teleport stone, well, you can read it right here, because this is used to create the portals to the underworld in Midworld. So no spoiler, but if you playing the survival mode and you want to go to the underworld, you know exactly what you need. You need these blocks, right? So now we've done the teleport stone, we can move on to the next block, which is a very basic blocks. It's the water blocks. It's just basically water. So why is this a special blocks to have in your parkour maps? Well, you just swim across it. That is why it's special, because you don't actually stand on these blocks. You actually have to swim across the blocks, and if you stop swimming, you will fall. And that's something that no other blocks will allow you to have that type of experience. So as you can see, the water just go on out, and yeah, the water actually will destroy some of the blocks if you don't pay attention to these blocks right here. Oh well. So normally if you want to place water, you would think of the bucket, the water bucket. So when you go in the tools section, you'll find there's water bucket right here. But the thing about the water bucket is you place it out, the water will always goes like this. It will not stay at a single block. So if you want to erase it, you just place a block in. But so that's my point. How can you create a water track if you cannot place a single water block? Well, there's a way, and it's actually very simple. It's actually apply something that you learned from the last minicamp class, and it is the terrain editor. So you actually can imagine how you would do this now. So you just turn on the terrain editor, you will click on the filler, you go to the nature blocks, and you will find, no wait, liquid blocks, my bad. You will find water right here. Click on it, click confirm, and then you just place the water blocks where you want it to be. So I will place the water blocks right here for my tracks. And as you can see, the water actually stay as a single blocks when you do it like this. So when you jump through this track, you actually get slowed down by the water. So this is actually very new, very unique, very original. If you can come up with like new tracks ideas and applies this water blocks in, it would be great. This is actually very hard to actually make your way through this. As you can see, I almost touched the ground. There we go. So just keep in mind that when you use the terrain editor and you want to place the water blocks, you should place them individually. So like this, you always want there is a space between each blocks. Why? Because when you bring the water blocks together, they actually just splash out to become like a huge water puddle like this. See what I mean? And you don't want that to happen to your parkour tracks, so make sure you always have like a space between each water blocks like this. Yep, like that. Right, so we are done with that. So now wait, we have to go through like the cloud blocks, the chocolate blocks, the hot, I don't remember what it is called actually. Hold on. The crystal sand. Yes, the crystal sand. The teleport stone, of course, and the water blocks. But there is actually one more that you need to know about when you build a parkour course. And it's not something new, it's something we actually used in the previous class. And it is the airborne or the invincible blocks. Either way, you can call it an airborne or invincible blocks. I would just call it the invincible blocks because that's what it does. It's invisible when you change to play mode. So basically, you know what this block does. When you change to play mode, you cannot see a thing, but you can still touch it, you can still feel it, and you can still be blocked by this block. Right, so what you can do with this is you can create an invincible track. Invisible track. Like this. So when you turn to play mode, you see nothing, but there's actually something and you can actually jump on it. So that's one way you can use these blocks to create a parkour track, but just remember to always give the player a clue that they know that there's an invisible track. If they don't know there is one, they will just think that you are trolling them and the map is not complete, and they will just rate your creation very badly. Right, so keep that in mind. Another thing you could do with the invisible block is you can always do something like this. This is actually not recommended, but just show you guys know you can put something like this in your map. So something like this and something like this. So if you change to play mode, you see nothing, and if the players decide to jump here, they will not be able to get on. So this is actually some type of trolling, but it's also very challenging and sometimes very fun to discover that you are being drawn, and this is actually a visible point right here. So yeah, you can do this to make a simple parkour course become more challenging. Right, so I will keep this here. So that's basically all of the special blocks with special abilities that you can apply to your parkour course. Of course, you can use any type of blocks you know to create a parkour course. For example, you can even use something like these fence right here to create a small track or a step. Yes, the player can still jump on them, but like it would be like a much more difficulty because they are small and the player actually not used to jumping on these kind of blocks. So if you want to make a really difficult step like the one like close to the end and you want something like more challenging, you can always be creative. You can pick some type of crazy blocks, and you should always trying to go through your parkour maps yourself first, so to make sure that like you can actually jump over the blocks before like giving it out to other players to play. You can create a track as hard as you want, but just don't create an impossible track, because no one wants to play an impossible track. Alright, right, so we have all the special blocks we can use: the disappear blocks, the super jump blocks, the pushing and slow down blocks, and even invisible blocks. Right, so what we will go to next is how to create moving blocks. What you are gonna do is you want to create a track that actually move. It can be like left and right or up and down, depend on like the course that you want to make. So as you can see here, if I enter this ladder, this switch, and I turn it on, the tracks move left, and if I turn it off, it moves right. As for this right here, if I turn this on, it moved out, and off is go off. Right, so before I actually show you how you can create a parkour track with this course right here, move left and right continuously, or this right here, move up and down continuously, you will need to first understand how you can create something like this. You need to understand how this works first, right? So I think I will just break these and show you exactly how you can do this. So basically you need to understand how these three blocks work. So you need to place like a random blocks for the base. Now you need to use the sliding blocks. You need to place it. You need to place the sliding blocks the way that it will show the plus sign. You don't want to place the blocks somehow like this, or you don't want this sign of the blocks is somewhere like this. You need to place it somehow you can see that the sign with the plus sign is actually visible. Then what you need to do next is you place this minus, the marker minus, okay, the marker minus blocks onto the plus sign right here like this. If you place it somewhere else like this or this, it will not work. So always keep in mind you need to have this plus sign, and then you place on the marker minus like this. And so you finish the first part of the moving track. Now you just build your track. You can have it like this, you can have it like this, or maybe a bit longer, whatever shape you want it to be. And then what you need to do is you need to have the marker plus, the marker plus one. You put it in and you make sure that it is on the same line as the marker minus like this. So make sure you place it there. If you place it here or anywhere else except from this line, it will not work. Right, so let's say I place it here, and there you go, you have the moving track ready to go. You only need one more thing, is the electricity source to actually activate this, and usually you can use the switch to do it. It can turn the electric source up and down or on and off, or you can even use the electric blocks, the lithium blocks. But the thing is that if you use the lithium blocks, it will not turn up. It will be always providing powers to the course. So make sure you have the switch to test this out. Put it on here, turn it, and you have the moving track. Like I said, you can create the track however you want to, whatever shape you want to. It doesn't matter, it will still work as long as you have the marker plus on the same row as the marker minus. Oh yeah, also keep in mind that you don't want to place any blocks on this side, because when this platform move, the blocks here will stay in the way of the moving process. So just for the sake of this tutorial, I will test this out for you guys and show you guys why you shouldn't place a block here. So as you can see, it will block the moving process, and this will just go on fire. That's not good, so turn it off and break this, and there you go, just like that. So you can test it out by just standing on this moving platform, try to turn it on. As you can see, you don't actually move along with the track, you actually stand still, but you can still drop down because you're not standing on anything anymore. So that is the physics in mini world, and even though it's not that like challenging, it's still something very cool to have moving track like this in your parkour maps, right? So for this one right here, it's the same, but instead of moving left and right, I actually set it to moving up and down. And how you can do that is just change the shape of the platform to like this, and you make sure that the marker plus is on the same row as the marker minus, but it on this light, so it will go up and down. If it's on this light, it will go left and right. See? Right, so now I stand on it, so I go here and I press this, and I actually go up. So you actually can create some very cool like close and open door function, or things like up and down, secret pathway, anything like that. You can just be creative with this as long as you know how it works. Right, so now as you understand how you can create moving tracks like this, now we actually go to the step that how we can create a track that's continuously move left and right or up and down without you using the switch, so that the player doesn't need to actually activate the switch themselves, but still the track will be moving. So how can we do that? So actually we have two ways of doing this. One simple ways and one advanced way with using the advanced trigger function. So if you are looking forward to learning some new triggers, especially for parkour maps trigger, then you are going to learn one right now. So we will start out with the simple method first. You will need to use this button right here. You can find this in the tool tabs. Go to the tool tab and just scroll down a bit. I believe yes, they are here. You have to type button, but it doesn't matter, it's just different color, I say. Right, so you get rid of this switch, you place the button in. Hold on, you place the button in here. Ah yes, so the thing about the button is that it cannot be placed on the above sides like this. It can only be placed on the side of the blocks, right? So it still works, but you cannot place it here. You can only place it here, here, or here. But that doesn't matter because it's actually not affect the cost or whatever. So now, as you can see, this works exactly like the switch, but it will just turn on and then it will turn off right away. So how can you make this turn on and off continuously throughout the games? So you will use this. You have this tools called the wrench, and you also find it in the tools section. Just scroll down a bit and it will be right over here, the wrench. So what you can do with the wrench is you hold the wrench and then you click on this button using your right mouse like this, and you will see that the button will appear like the pointer like this, like the recycle icons, and that is when you know that the button is ready to go constantly when you start like pushing it. So once you use it, you push it, it will continuously go up and down even if you are not close by or you not interact with it anymore. So basically now you have a moving track on its own without any human interaction. See, now you can just enjoy your gameplay without turning this on or off anymore. So the same things will go here. You just need to place the button here, then go to the range, switch the button to the recycle mode. Why do I call it a recycle button? Nope, but it does look like the recycle button. So you press it and there you go. Now you have a fully automatic moving tracks inside of your parkour maps. Very cool. As you can see, I actually go up with the moving blocks right here, but when I stand on this, I actually don't move along with the tracks. It's still very cool to have and a bit more challenging as you see the track keep moving like this, right? So now you know the simple way of doing this. Why do you need to try it and apply the hard way, the advanced way? I will tell you why. Because by using this button right here, it will just go on and off by itself, and you cannot actually time it whatsoever. You cannot pick a time for it to stop and then continue. It will just go on at the same pace, at the original pace that it has been like developed for the games. So for example, if I just stop this, I make the track a bit longer like this, and I use this button, you will realize that the period of time that it actually go on is not even long enough for the track to go completely to this side. So even if I press it continuously, it took me almost three fast press like this to have the track go all the way to this side. And when you use the wrench on it and you press, it would not do that for you. It would just go on and off with the same speed. That is why you need an advanced way to actually make this work, to actually make the course go left and right, up and down the way you want it to, and you can even set the time for it to work. So we will just stop this and this. Now for the advanced way, we will use the switch again, but this time we will not like turn it on and off by ourselves, of course, but we will use the advanced trigger function to actually make this work. So again, we will need to use the tool move for selecting a spot, and so we switch to number 2 right here and select the square area where you place the switch in, like this. And so you will find that there is a location 1 right here. You will want to rename it to the switch 1 so that you can remember what it is, and then you can turn up the tool mode. Then you can go to the trigger setting again. Right, now we create a new trigger that will help us to create a moving tracks on its own, and we can even set the time for it to move. So create new triggers. So how this will work is we will want to create it 2 triggers, one to turn on the switch and one to turn off the switch. Wait, no, we need 3 triggers for this, because the first time the switch is turned on is different from the second time, because the second time the switch is turned on, we will create a loop that the switch will turn on and off. So we actually need 3 triggers for this to happen. So for the first one, you will need to go to event, you go to game logic, and you select when game is created, is when you start the game basically. So click on that. Then you go to you go straight to the action. You go to I believe you go to blocks, and then you look for the change toggle status right here, and here's where you choose the event position, which was the one that you just select right here. Click on it, block to on. This is when the switch turn on. If you want to turn it off, you switch this to off. Right, so we need to test this single trigger first to see if it works. So we go out and we change to play mode right way, and you can see that the button turned on by itself. I didn't even click on it and it still turned on. Right, so that is done. So we move on to our second trigger. So now when the switch is already turned on, you will need to set a second triggers. So we go to event, go to I believe you go to blocks, we will select the block charging status, and then we go to condition, go to block. We need to select the block tool status, option true. This means that it is on, and also you need to select the location again, so the trigger will know which block it is. Right, so for the action, we will select first the timer waiting time. So just like I said before, you want to add the waiting time in your trigger to delay an action. So now I want to wait for like 3 seconds before I turn off the switch again. So now I go to another action, we go to blocks, and again change toggle status. Of course, we go to event position, blocks to off right here, and we will test it out. So this time I will just stand far away so that you guys can see that I'm not touching the switch at all, and the trick will do everything that I set it up for. Play mode, turn it off, turn it on, and something is not working because it should be turned off after 3 seconds. So there's actually an issue in the trigger, so let's check it. What is missing? I think the event is not right. Maybe we can well, there's no other event that will suit this. Oh, so maybe the condition. So maybe I switch the condition to determine blocks, and we don't need this anymore. Choose a block type event, and we choose the switch blocks right here. Right, so maybe that will work. Right, so switch to this mode, and it's still not turning off again. That is just not great. Anyway, like I said, there will always be some issue when you're trying to do new triggers, but the process of figuring out what the issue it is will help you improve a lot in setting up triggers. So maybe this doesn't work at all, so I will just delete it and work on something new. So what I want to show you right now is a bit more complicated, but I will try my best to make it simple for you guys to learn, of course, and see if you can actually use this advanced trigger for your creation. Right, so we have as we go down to timer, you will see there is a run timer, and now you will need to click on that. You will need to click on perform timer. You click on this and you will create a new variable of time, because there's no timer available in my map just yet. So create something new. You can set the name to anything you want. I will go ahead and type in switch 1. Right, so we click on that timer, and now what this does is when the game is created, it not only change the state of the switch 1 to on, but it also run a timer named switch 1 behind the scene. Right, so when we have that done, then we go to trigger 4. Now we have to select an event, and the event this time will be about that timer that we set up. We will pick the timer change. Wait, no, it's not timer change. Hold on. Design timer change is this one. So you want to make sure that you select the one that you have the option to pick what timer this change, and then you select the switch 1. So when the switch 1 is turned on, then something happened. So now we want to click on the action. Again, we will select timer. You will always need to use the waiting time trigger to delay the action of a trigger. So keep in mind that you will use this a lot, and so just remember what this does. It delays the time of the action of your trigger. So I would say for 5 seconds after the timer is on, then I want to turn the switch off, so I select the blocks, I select change toggle status, and I select this destination right here, switch 1 and 2 off. And if everything is correct, then this time it should work. So just like that, after 5 seconds, there we go. So as you can see, we actually made it work after like 3 tries. And so let's try it again. So now it turned on the switch, and it wait for 5 seconds before turning the switch off. That wasn't me touching the switch at all. I will show you guys. I will stand right here and wait for the trigger to function itself. So we have the trigger works. All that left is now you guys want to know how to actually make that process happen over and over again with only 3 triggers. So now we go back into triggers. As you can see, so now the switch is off and you want to turn it on again. But the trigger for turning the switch on was when the game is created. You don't want, or no, you cannot create the game again when you're already in it. So now you need to create the number 3 trigger to actually make this work. Oh, and you will always want to name your trigger. So let's say this one, I will name it wait, no, this is change position. Change this to turn on switch 1. My bad, switch 1. Yeah, you should always name your trigger, because there will be a time that you will need to go back to this trigger, and you don't want to only see like trigger 1, trigger 2, 3, 4. You will have no clue which one is which. I myself, I don't usually name the trigger, but that is my really bad habit, and you should not do the same thing. Alright, so remember to name all of your triggers so that you know which one is which. This one is turn off. Turn off switch 1. Right, so as you can see, naming the trigger won't cost you a lot of time, but it will help you to identify each trigger more quickly. Right, so now moving on to the trigger to make the process happen over and over again, we need to first we need to go back to the turn off switch, and then we need to do something like turn off the timer. Yes, so we need to turn you need to pause the timer. You need to pause timer switch 1. Right, so why do you need to pause timer switch 1? Because when the timer switch 1 change, it say right here, then the switch will always go off after 5 seconds, and if you don't pause this timer, then your switch will always turn off it itself after 5 seconds. Right, so you turn the switch 1 timer off first, then you add another action. You will add in run timer. You will run another timer. Right, so I know this is a bit complicated for you guys who are completely new to triggers, but you have to trust me that if you can figure this out, you will be able to apply this to a lot of things, and you can actually do a lot of advanced things with your maps. So bear this with me and try to understand this with me. I'm a bit confused when I said this myself, so I'm trying my best to explain this to you. So now you want to turn a new timer on. So let's say you name this the switch 1.1, so you don't like get lost which timer is which. So turn on the switch 1.1 timer. Now you can move on to the trigger 4. So it is the same as the turn off switch. You will select game logic. You will select the designed timer change, then you select the switch 1.1 timer. Now you have the event, you go straight to the action. So same as the other trigger, you select timer first. You select waiting time, 5 seconds, that's good enough. So leave it there and then add another action, go to block. Because you want to turn on the switch again, select change to status, select event position to the switch position, select on, and then you pretty much have the action of turning off and on again. But now you want it to continue over and over again. So the final step for this is that you select action, you select timer, you select pause timer. So you want to pause the timer 1.1 right here, and you want to resume the timer switch 1. So you select run timer, resume timer. There we go, select resume timer switch 1. So I think that's all we need. Wait, I think I forgetting something, because now the switch 1 timer will be turned off and you need it to be turned on again to actually activate the triggers once again. So you go back to this trigger over here, perform switch 1.1. Yes, this is a bit tricky. Let me think about it first. Right, so you need to erase this. I'm sorry, but I just realized that it won't work like that. Select timer, we will select resume timer instead of run timer. So now you can see these two triggers actually will go in a loop over and over again, but what we need to do now is we need to make these two triggers happen before they go in the loop. So go back to the turn on switch, and we also need to select the turn on the timer like switch 1.1, because we already switched this to resume the timer, not turn it on. So now we have this, but we don't want like the two timer to be turned on at the same time, because then these two triggers will also trigger themselves at the same time. So what do you add when you want to delay a trigger action? Like I said, the waiting time. So you click on waiting time, you will want to rearrange this here. So if you don't know yet, the rearrange is really important because it will decide which action it will do first. So you want this pause action of the trigger to happen before this action, so you have to rearrange it above this one. Right, so pause for 5 seconds, that's perfect, because after 5 seconds we also want the switch to turn off. And if everything go right, that is the trigger you need to actually set a moving track with exact time measurement in your Parkour maps. Right, so we switch to play mode right now, and we will wait to see if our trigger works well. So after 5 seconds it will move its tail off and on again. For the final part, we will be learning about traps and how to create trap, how to place trap to make your maps more interesting, more challenging for the players. So I already set up something right here, but for the sake of the tutorial I will just delete the blocks here so that you have a clear view of what is happening here. Right, so I will just do that. Right, now we can start building traps. Let me just get the needed tools for this part and we'll get into it. Right, so we don't actually have a lot of things you can set up as trap, but I will show you everything you can do. So we can take one of these. You will also need, where is the wire? Ah, there it is. We have this already. No, we don't need. Oh yeah, we can use that. We can use this. We can use this for traps. We can also use this. What else can we use? I remember we can still use something like this. Ah yes, this and this. Oh, we actually can use a lot of things here. But I will just go through some of the most obvious things you can put as trap. Right, so as you can see, I already set this up before we start this section. What this is that it's a trap. So you know what traps does is it makes the gameplay more difficult for the players, and sometimes it's just kill them instantly. So for this one, what this does is when you walk through the path, if you step on one of these, then this spring here will push you aside and then you will fall down off the track. So you should just jump over them like this. Right now you see that this spring doesn't work. That is because I haven't placed this wire yet. So as you can see, if we want the electricity to travel from this block to this spring, you will need to place some wires like this. Just keep in mind that the wires will not connect directly with the spring, so you always need to have an extra blocks up here to connect the two, like the two spots together. So now if I do that with all of this spring at the back right here, this should work perfectly when I step on the button, and it will launch me out of the path right away, which is really challenging if you don't pay attention of what you're stepping on, of course. So when you see something like this in a Parkour map, you definitely want to change your view into the first person view and just go like this. So you can see now, if I step on it, even if I slightly step on it, it will launch me out track. Okay, that was really far. Alright, so it worked, and I also put one right here so you know that you can also use this instead. What this does is it also push you, but it push you more light. Like you will not fly all the way over there. You will just see what I mean when I step it on like this. There we go. So it push you slightly off, but it's still enough to like mess up your Parkour game if you don't pay attention to it. Okay, so I just get past it. Oh wait, no, I did fall up, but just not like super far away. Right, so one more thing you can do with this is you can use this wrench right here. Right, so if you haven't known, you can use the wrench for multiple purposes, and one of which is to turn this to the, I don't know what to call it, but I will call this an extra power mode. So what this does is when you step on the button, it will launch this super far away. As you can see, it goes all the way over there, pushing these blocks out of the way. Oh my god. Right, so it doesn't actually do much, but as you can see, if you change it to the extra power mode, it will actually prevent the players from passing through more efficiency. As you can see, I cannot move forward if I don't like jump over it, and if I go back I will let push away like that. Right, so if I jump, then I get through. So that is one type of traps that you can create. And now I will show you how to create the same traps but in a more difficulty level. Like, you don't wait for the players to step on the trap anymore, so you want the trap to activate themselves, and the player have to time their movement to actually get through it. So you use these buttons again. You use this, and this. And like I said before, you use the range to actually make this function continuously over and over again. So now we push this, push. Just keep in mind that you will not need the wires for this, because it doesn't need to transfer electricity from this spot to this spot. Right, so now we go at the front. You can see that all of the traps is going on their own, and you don't even need to step on anything anymore. But it will be more challenging because the players now will have to time their movement instead of jumping, because even if they jump, sometimes they will get pushed away because the traps will be going on their own will. Right, so now if I time my movement correctly, I should be able to navigate myself through this step, which is very hard. I didn't know that it was this fast, to be honest, but let's see if we can do it right. Off, on. What the I'm sorry, but I'm super bad at parkour, and I don't think I can get past this trap that I set up myself. Let me just try that one more time. Off, on, run. Oh, okay, that's once. There we go. Oh. Right. Whew. So as you can see, I did it. So it means that all of you should be able to get through this if you are paying attention, you are focused on the path you are going. So just so you know, I'm very bad at parkour, very bad at getting through traps like this, and I did it, so you guys should all be able to go through this trap. But without saying, it is a bit more challenging. It will just level your parkour maps up as they reach further in the gameplay experience. They will find more challenging course, more challenging path, and you can use this as one of the traps in your parkour maps. Right, I will just turn them off just in case they don't launch me all the way over there when I'm continuing the lesson. Right, the only things left is now how can you set up like advanced trap with triggers. Right, so in order to do this, you only need a single blocks, because everything else will be function with triggers. Let's say you do something like this, you will select the tool mode. You can select the area you want to activate the trap. So you one click and then you click another time to select the area you want to place the trap in. So let's say I place the trap here. I just place random spot, and if you can see here, if I turn this mode off and I change to play mode, you will not see where is the traps area anymore, because the area only show in creation mode only. So if you are setting trigger for these traps, you should turn this on to know where the position of each individual spot you select. But after you're done with the trigger, you should turn this off to make your creative math less laggy. Right, so I will turn it on and we will now create a new trigger. We will name it traps. Yeah, trap, right. Alright, so how this work is we will select event. We go to player. You will need to find the tab say when player enter the area. There we go. Now you can select the area you just pick. So we have region 2, region 3, 4, 5. These are the area that I just picked for the course. So of course I can only select one at a time, so I will select the region 2 first, just like that, and then I will select action. You also go to player, and then you want to select move the player toward this direction. Then you select the direction. You select, let me just see if which one will be the most like suitable setting for this one, and I will show you guys. So it look like that you should just select one of these. So you will select like let's say back, and the speed I recommend you set the speed to 3. 3 is the most suitable speed that I have experienced. So now we have set a trap in this region, this area. So how can we set traps in all of this region that we have picked, like fast and convenient? So like I said, you just copy this trigger, pass it, copy, pass, and then you just change this region to whichever region that you want to have the same trap. Region 3, region 4, we still need one more, region 5, so I just copy this, pass, and region 5. So there you have all the region we have set up, and now you can leave this like this. Like the player will not know anything on this track. They will think that it's completely normal track as soon as they started, but as soon as they jump in, let's say I jump here and I'm still okay because the trap is right here. But when I jump here, that is where the second trap is, and as you can see, I'm now down here. And if you're kind enough, you should just place some clue for the players to know where the traps is. If you don't, you just leave it like it is to actually draw them maybe. Right, so if you place like that, now the player actually know where the traps are, so they can just navigate themselves to where the traps not is and complete the course. Oh my god. Anyway, you get the point. And that is pretty much how you set up trap with triggers. You can also change this to let's say you don't want to push them away, but instead you want to instantly kill them. You can do that by just change the action of the trigger to defeat the players. This is pretty much all of our section today.